Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Hearthside chat. I'm Peter Cow, and I'm chatting with Jill Kettle, who's our Northwest Acorn for the Connection Camp this year. And I'm, really pleased to be hanging out with you, Jill.
I'm pleased to
And
be hanging out with you.
and let's start with some gratitude. What are we each grateful for today? I'm grateful for, the having been for a run, the freshness and the desire to get in the stream. I do it all through the year, but in the winter it's quite okay, getting in the stream now. But in the summer it's like, oh, I long to get in the stream at the end of the run. So grateful for the holy brook that flows down from these hills and past the end of this meadow, and it's refreshing, quite full after all the rains. Yeah, that's my gratitude. How about you, Jill?
Beautiful. I'm grateful for so many things. I'm really grateful for my life at the moment. And yeah, thinking of landscape, I had a beautiful walk. I've got those like perfect summer mornings up a local hill close to some woods that I am lucky enough to guardian. And yeah, just a gorgeous walk up a chalk landscape with birdsong and the fullness of this time of year and all the green and growth and beauty and the stillness of that early morning. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful to be here and grateful for everything that the possibilities of connection can bring us. Yeah.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, and here we are, this midsummer next weekend. It's really the kind of full, abundant. Like my peas in my garden are taller than me. It's incredible, and just the life force that comes through this time of year. Yeah, celebrating that and the view through my window. Anyway, so I'd love to talk a bit about your role at the Connection Camp and your experience there in years gone by. So you're in the Hearth, which is our space for informal village gathering, and also our morning and evening circles in the whole group. And you're the NorthWest in that Hearth Acorn, the Hearth team. Could you share a bit about what you're going to be doing and being as that NorthWest
Yeah,
role?
I'd really love to. So the Northwest in the Eight Shields model is that time of that, like the waning light and coming to the end of the day or the end of a life cycle or the end of a phase. And so that particular part of the phase is that deepening, that thoughtfulness, that reflective time, that slowing, the paying attention to how that cycle has flowed, to elderhood, to acknowledging grief and feelings. And so my role is going to be to, be tending that energy, be really taking care of, being aware of that energy, taking care of elders, looking out for and giving a space for deep feelings, for grief, for, yeah, to really create a place where that is truly welcome and where people have an opportunity to explore how they might want to tend those places in themselves. Yeah. Do you want to prod me a bit more?
Yeah, no, it sounds like a kind of a less kind of visible and upfront role, but it sounds like a really important foundation for village life, to have these things looked after.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how is the Northwest in what's your relationship with the Northwest? Is this something that you're familiar with in
Well,
your life, or
I mean, yes. And I think something I didn't mention that I feel very much a part of the Northwest is about ancestors as well and about our relationship with the past
yeah.
and our connectivity to that. And, there's so many reasons why I feel drawn to the Northwest. But I feel like for us to have a healthy and happy future, we really deeply need an integrated and connected relationship with the past, with an acknowledgement of our ancestors of place, of our blood ancestors, but also, those beings that are not even human that are also our ancestors. And there's just like there's so much that we can learn from through growing our relationship and our connection to that field, to that energetic. And so much that we can do with hands and hearts and living bodies to balance our own relationship to things that might have been disconnected for them and how that lands in the physical. So there's a really, for me, that's a part of why I'm drawn to the Northwest is a long lifetime experience of feeling really strongly the importance of that tending and of that building of healthy ropes of connection to our ancestry in all sorts of different ways. And also the tending of the moving of what might be stuck in terms of grief, in terms of
Yeah.
the way that our emotions or our experiences in life can choke us or clog us up, and that so much of what we're living into at the moment in this hurting world is the experience of disconnection that's gotten clogged up over generations and generations and hasn't been given the space and the context and the time to move and be brought back into a healthy flow of life. And the Northwest is, of all the shields, probably the one that is like most what it says on the tin is like, let's look at this stuff.
Hmm.
Let's give this stuff a place and let's open those conversations about how can we as a collective, how can we as a community tend this stuff so that we can be well, so that we can go into the deeper elderhood phases of the cycle, and really renew, not carrying grief from this part of the cycle, this phase. So yeah, I also love listening to elders. Really feel like if we're going to have a healthy, balanced village, the value and the importance of our remembering how to care for our elders, how to listen to our elders is really, really important. And who doesn't love to have a space for their feelings to really have a place? And when they really do have a place, then my experience is if that's held well, they can move much more easily. And so yeah, it's positioning ourselves really for that. I feel very connected to Northwest. I also lost my mum in January and have been on a very personal journey with loss and that. And the
Mm.
renewal, the capacity for renewal that good grief tending can bring, because I was lucky enough to be really well held through that experience by friends and family and ceremonial leaders in my community, and feel very committed to supporting that have a really healthy life in our community in this camp coming up. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's such a difference between having grief and having grief that's being held,
yeah,
in a kind of connective space with others.
yeah,
And I think for me, it was one of the biggest experiences I had on the art of mentoring I went to 2011.
yeah.
There wasn't a grief tending ceremony as such then, but they sang this song for like half an hour. Don't want to go to war, lay down your guns by the
I know the
riverside.
one. Yeah, yeah,
And I think it was designed as kind of a grief tending ceremony.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was just weeping,
yeah,
in the second half of that. And in such as, in this like barn, surrounded by 100 people all singing this song again and again and again with harmonies and the beauty of it. But just like, yeah, kind of laying down my weapons, laying down my grief and kind of letting go of the holding of,
yeah,
yeah, the loss I had in my life at that point of a relationship and also a child
yeah.
in my life that had died. So yeah, it was a really big and powerful, heart-opening moment for me. That kind of grief holding, and yeah, I certainly kind of saw the beauty a lot more after that. And yeah, the Eight Shields model movement has been a real support for me in my emotional opening, and the grief tending is such a key part of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad to have you along to be anchoring that in our space and helping it to happen in a good way.
And thank you, but also thank you for sharing, such a deeply personal thing of your own life. And what I hear in what you share is something, and I really feel this is possible. Something is possible when we come together to connect our hearts and minds with that intention. It really amplifies what might be feel quite challenging or overwhelming in the four walls of a nuclear
Hmm.
home, like in the current
Yeah.
society that we live. But for a group of people to come together and say, yes, I want to embrace being well and I'm prepared to let what needs to move move. Just it is a profound energetic that we have lost touch with, and it is such a profound experience to be able to get the conditions right for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it was very counter the culture I grew up in,
yeah,
with my parents and the school and everything. You know, there wasn't much of a grief tending culture in any of those spaces. So I'm so glad to have found it in the kind of second half of my life.
yeah,
How much it's supported me.
yeah.
Yeah. So I also know that you've been at these camps as a participant,
Mm.
and you've brought your family along to some of them as well. And I'd love to hear some of what you've seen is the impact of the
Yeah,
experience of being at these camps on yourself and your family. How's that
definitely.
been?
Um, it's been really huge. I've been several times as a participant with children of various ages, and I think I'm going to speak to the most recent experience where I took. I've just noticed that my children's father is here on the call as well, which is nice. So I just want to really acknowledge him and the support of that connection in our family. But yeah, I came alone with the two boys. We have a third child as well, but she wasn't with me. And they were 5 and 9 last
This is
year.
the camp last year.
This is the camp last
Yeah.
year. And we had been in a bit of a stuck place for a while. They had been antsy and quite aggressive with each other for a long time. And no, I couldn't bring the interventions. We couldn't seem to bring the intervention that was needed. But something about being in a really well-held village for that length of time, that 6 days was enough time for them to have a very felt experience of being held, loved, that they had gifts, that they were welcomed, that they were seen, that they were kids that they could play with. There were other adults other than me and their father to monitor and modify, that there was a sense of play embedded in everything, but also woven into these deep layers of teaching and gratitude and the kind of rhythm and the pattern of the day that just it was the biggest reset for their nervous system. And I'm really not wanting to proselytize or get on a soapbox, but my whole family could see the difference when we came home. And the boys have just been really reset and they have thrived since. Like my eldest son had been struggling with being bullied at school and had felt very excluded. And he found his little tribe there and went through some tensions and some challenges, but it all got really, really well held. And he came back to school in September and found a friend and has just that was just when you shift
Wow.
something by a degree and then 5 meters out it's a whole different story, and that's what happened. So I mean I so passionately hope that we can gather again this year, because it was such a beautiful thing and it brought so much joy to my heart. And being there as a woman alone with two children, I'm not a single mum, but I was alone with two kids in that experience. I felt so supported. I really, I mean, for anybody who's listening to this call, who's sort of feels overwhelmed at times with parenting and who doesn't, the level of profound care and that's offered at the art of mentoring environment for families was for me, my experience was it was impeccable. And they went off every day. I had an experience, they had an experience. We came back. We had so much fun. We played together. It was silly and fun. Yeah. And we've got some catchphrases from there that will live, like, for example, like the little one, Alfie, who going like when we lie down next to each other, and then he's going, I want to double worm you. And then the other one, and then he's like, we're triple worming now, and it's like just, brilliant. And the whole kind of subculture of the kids, and they create very quickly their own mysterious world. But woe betide any snacks left untended in the tent. That's what I'd say. If you're gonna bring kids, lock your snacks. Yeah, it was good
Oh,
though. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful for that because it felt like I got my kids back, really,
Mm.
or found a way of relating to them that was different. Yeah.
Wow.
And they found a way of relating to each other. They bash each other far less these days. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I just want to kind of sit with hearing that
Yeah.
testimonial, as being the camp organizer last year. And,
Yeah.
I get to hear all the things that aren't working and the problems and like the bits that need tuning up. And yeah, it's so good to hear that this had such an effect on
It changed our world. It has changed
your family, your
for
children.
for a full year, almost a full year now. It's been a game changer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The power of giving children a village
Yeah.
for just 1 week.
Yeah. And Alfie was literally sobbing when we left. He was going, I just want to come back. And for weeks after, he was going, when can we go back? When can we go back? That's the place I want to be. I want to live there. And I just feel so grateful because we're creating some of that essence here. And that's the other thing I would say is that, for me, the art of mentoring, it's not a one-hit wonder or a magic bullet for anything, but it is an opportunity to pick up enough skill to remember and recreate things in each of our own individual places. And some of the networks and the community and the support structures that get offered and created and genuine, sustainable and sustaining community and friendships that grow out of these experiences it's such a grassroots movement to for cultural repair, for really deep cultural repair. And so I think it's one of the things that excites me so much about it is how the great mystery or the mystery works, and how when we activate that level of connection with enough holding, the ripples from that time and space can be very big in all sorts of directions and ways. So
What are some of
yeah.
the ways that you found to kind of carry on with this and weave it into your
Um,
life?
well, I think, you know, that the Eight Shields models had a profound impact on my life in many ways. So the camp falls into a part of that, but there isn't an activity now. I mean, I run quite a lot of group events and workshops and immersive experiences for different age ranges, and it's always there in my planning and my thinking of how to create the most effective way of bringing people into connection in every place. And you know, sure, we make, massive mistakes, I'm sure, some of the time, but I think the experience of most people coming into those spaces is like an aliveness or a welcome or a purposefulness or and then those reflective harvesting gathering moments, and bringing the life cycle really into being in good ways. But I think the other many, in a way, the eight shields could be seen as like, best practice in all these different areas of, well, how are we going to get, bringing children into the world in a good way? How are we going to cater for lots of people in the best way? How can we think about baking, gardening, grief tending, dying, menopause, women's mysteries, pretty much anything you could possibly think of. You could use this model and this map to support a depth and a deepening and a maturing of how we practice being alive, how we take our psychological process or our organizational structure. Um, and there's all of that. And then there's all the just really nice people, and singing and, just I think, playing as an adult, silliness and fun and that beautiful balance of nature connection and human culture, and how the two play off each other if it's done well. And I think the Eight Shields model really does do that well, looks at that. Look, we are nature, and nature connection needs to include our systems and our ways of relating. And, how do we design so that, you know, we know that if conflict's going to arise, there's ways of handling that are skillful and graceful and compassionate. Oh, look, you know how multi-layered it is. And I hope that, something of my enthusiasm can get over to anyone who might be listening to this, of what an extraordinary pattern for the creative force it is, and how carefully it's been mapped and how thought out it's been mapped. So yeah, I'd say it's been great on a theory level. It's been great on a personal level too. Just some of my very best friends are from this community and lifelong friendships for me and my children.
Yeah.
And it's also helped me personally land my dreams into the world, definitely, without a doubt. So yeah, good thing.
Mm. Thanks. Yeah, so here you're using it in designing events that you run and also, yeah, many other aspects of your life and work and community. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I use it in my permaculture courses. Yeah, my daily patterns of my life, you know, and it just works. It's just, a good human pattern or set of patterns that map onto the day and into community and human life and all kinds of things.
Mm,
It's just a
definitely.
very elegant way of bringing connection and understanding the flow of life.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Just
the flow
wanna,
of human life as well. And, there's a myriad ways it can be used, but one thing is just, and another thing I'd say I really love about the art of mentoring camps is how intergenerational they are,
mm,
and how that thoughtful design that doesn't feel designed of just having very young kids all the way through to true elders in the space just creates an energy field that feels really good and right. And I think everyone benefits from um, in a very powerful way. It really busts the kind of hierarchical paradigms that we live in of leadership and rather looks at what happens when everybody's invited to step into their kind of leadership.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that just thrills me to bits and of just being in that aliveness of energy. It's really good fun.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. That field of connective energy. I remember John Young, the founder of the Eight Shields, talking about how at also mentoring camps or nature culture connection camps, when it's gone well, the children are being dragged to the car because they don't want to leave because they're like,
Yeah.
"You've got it right finally. This is going so well. Why are we leaving? This is like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what I expected as a child. This village." And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of seed it there so you can then take it out into your life and find ways, as you've done, to bring it into your community, your work, and
Yeah.
reinvigorate, reconnect in all these
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And, bringing it back to the first question of, the role of the Northwest in that is to give space and room for the fact that we weren't, most of us, met in that way, and that we can take that vision away with us and then actually to create the space to be able to be with some of the feelings that may be around why that wasn't there in the first place.
yeah,
But the proper composting of that actually does allow for healthy growth. So it's very, very, very important part of the cycle, I think. Yeah.
yeah. As Kyle Gibran says in The Prophet, grief carves a track for joy, I think, or love, or both, which is definitely my experience.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
cleaning things out. I want to give a bit of time before we close to if there's any questions from the people that are here live with us. So if anyone there has a question, please write it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it. So there's some time now if you want to do that. And yeah, maybe while they're writing, what are you looking forward to coming back to the camp now in a staff role rather than
Mm.
participant? What moments or
Oh,
aspects of it are you particularly looking forward to?
I love the village circles in the mornings. I love coming together after a night's sleep to sing a song and to find out what ridiculous game somebody has brought into the pot. I like that. I love the venue, actually. It's a really, really special place that has a history for me and
Hmm.
really enjoy that. And yeah, there's countless things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing my children just run off and yeah, make their own connections and friends and just see that. And I'm looking forward to working alongside some really dear friends this year and um, yeah, deepening into what this role means. And it's it's so unknown in some ways. However well things are planned, the aliveness and the unexpected nature of what will actually come depending on who shows up. I love that. I love that. I love, do you know what I love is I love that moment in the opening circle where people are like looking around and going, ooh, okay. And there's this sort of like kind of moment where everybody's just a little bit like uncertain because, it's a big circle of people and people, haven't met yet. But then within a day or 2 days or 3 days, those same people are feel like family. And that transition, that kind of like thickening of the juices,
Mm.
just as it's something that it never ceases to amaze me about how our nervous systems are wired for connection. And
Yeah,
get the conditions right for it, it just kind of goes, you know. So I'm
yeah.
looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to getting fed and having nice hot showers because Clop Hill's got really good showers. Yeah, and those are some things.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. In permaculture, we talk about accelerating succession from kind of like bare ground to climax forest. And I'm really aware that the HLs have so many good patterns for accelerating human succession from kind of isolated individuals to really connected, understanding each other, empathetic, caring people with leadership capacity, and yeah, all those eight attributes of connection lit up. The happiness, vitality,
Mm,
commitment,
mm,
love, quiet
mm.
mind, all those good things. It just really works. This connection field that we create. And thank you for holding the Northwest part of it, which,
Mm.
as you say, is quite a kind of responsive, you know, space to be in. It's like, okay, what needs to be held emotionally in this camp, and what needs to flow, and what history needs to be surfaced, and what lineage do we need to honor? And it's kind of, yeah, less of a kind of planned and more of an emergent, responsive
Yeah,
role.
yeah.
So
Wow.
thanks for that.
I'm looking forward to it
Look
very
forward to
much.
circling up with you in,
Yeah,
yeah, less than 2 months' time, 6 weeks' time.
great. Can't
Yeah.
wait.
So there's no questions. But yeah, thanks to those who have been here with us live on the call and those who've caught it in the recording afterwards. Yeah, thanks, Jill.
No worries.
And yeah, let's finish with an appreciation. I appreciate feeling the aliveness and the passion in you for this work and how deeply it's, yeah, supported your family and yourself.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate all the work that goes into organizing something of this size and to everybody who is stepping towards it as well. So, yeah, open roads and happy hearts. And yeah, that's what I'm grateful for. Thanks, Peter. Lots of
Thanks,
love,
Jill.
everybody. Yeah.